4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me. Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga chaka. Phenomena. Tiptoe through the tulips with me.
You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to...
Talk supernatural. This one's explosive.
Time to be infected with reality, because it's better to suffer from truth than deal with the consequences.
You're listening
lies.
to Talk Supernatural.
You interrupted my intro.
That's because I can't hear yet.
What?
I can't hear.
What?
Sorry, you took too long with the opening.
That's one of our shortest openings ever.
I can't hear. I can speak, but I can't hear. Because I'm still sick.
God, if we could only get you, we couldn't talk.
So, what is it? It's better to suffer from truth than what?
Than to deal with the consequences of lies.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
is
a little
true.
FYI, how you still got a bit of a cough and cold and some extra antibiotics and all that stuff. So
my last podcast, I was coughing, so I
Right.
apologize. But that's
And-
why we've had a 3-week hiatus.
I know. So
trying to
if
get
there's
better.
a little coughing going on, remember our broadcasts are live, so
Deal with it.
deal with it.
So, like I was trying to say, sorry, I really interrupted. You're listening to Talk Supernatural Radio. We bring the best supernatural 411
And so, anyways, as I was, did I interrupt you?
on purpose, whereas I didn't do it on purpose.
Oh, neither did I. Mine was so accidental.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're from the U.S. to the U.K., up north to down under, Rhode Island to Easter Island, Hurricane Alabama to frostproof Florida. And if you're listening, you are right where you are supposed to be.
The views and opinions and personalities expressed on this show are those solely of TSR and do represent who we are and what we believe. If you don't like satire, if you find rabbit trailing annoying, if you don't like to laugh, if you can't handle the truth, do not listen to this show. We are not responsible for your nightmares, denial issues, bleeding ears, or annoyance.
Well, if you can handle it, then let's do it.
Okay. We are Scott, and as well as, including Heidi Linden, investigators of the supernatural in tow to Toothcasters. We're airing once again to help shine some light on the darkness, give you a better glimpse into reality. We've got the news, the facts, the experiences, the stories with laughs and words for all of us to live right by. I want to be a little dramatic this time.
And Australian. Yeah.
And yeah, I like to mix
Sort of like the
accents
Outback.
sometimes.
I like
yeah,
it.
Yeah, right?
So, yes, we be back. Tonight, we're going to be talking about disease or...
Oh yeah! Booyah! Demons!
The motivation for this topic was because May was Mental Health Month.
Which happens to be my birthday month.
Imagine that.
Oh, that's right. We didn't get to tell everybody it was my birthday like 10 days ago.
Yeah. Scott's birthday 10 days ago. There
Roughly. The 20th.
So,
If all you guys really need to, like, send money, and postcards, whatever, Do what you gotta do, babe. Just make me happy. You know what I'm saying?
even though it's June, we're going to do some catch-up on episodes here. So last month was Mental Health Month, and that's why we picked this topic. Like I said before, we've been on a 3-week hiatus because between...
It's been 3 weeks?
It has, because 2 weeks I was sick, and last weekend was a holiday weekend. I was still sick, but
Yeah.
we weren't in
I
town.
didn't realize it was that long.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, we apologize. We got lots of emails. People were like, where are you? And how can I find you? And what's going on? So, and some people already knew that I was sick, so they were saying they're praying for me.
What do they call that? What'd you say the virus was? They call them...
Superbug.
Superbug, yeah.
They said I have a superbug. I think it's all the chemtrails, since we've been doing conspiracy stuff in chemtrails.
Yeah.
They probably shined a little powder over my room at night. I breathed it in, and you got it too. Scott got it too. He got it in his
actually, the whole
eyes.
family got got it, and we all got it differently.
But I'm just weak, I guess, so.
Yeah. Well, the adversary might have won the battle, but he has not won the war.
Thanks, everybody, for the well wishes and saying you praying for me and stuff. So, that was nice. And thanks for just listening, too. So, one thing is, you guys might notice, for those of you who have been listening since last year, we changed our format a little bit. We're a little more serious because we are getting...
A lot more serious. I'm like a serious freak now.
Yeah, because, well, that in itself says you're not.
Oh.
But that's good, because you don't want to be too serious. But we did change a little bit just because we had a couple people saying they thought that we were mocking or demeaning the serious topics that we were talking about. But we were doing that because, well, one, just because we're goofy in general. But also because...
We're not goofy generals.
No. Goofy in general.
Right.
Because we just don't like such hard topics to come through so serious, and then we talk like this, and it sounds really boring.
And we work very hard, Well, actually, we just try to let our personalities flow a little bit, too. Because we've listened to a lot of other podcasts out there, and we find that they can become very monotone, very plain, very boring.
Mind-numbing.
And how can anybody pay attention or want to listen? I know I don't. If I don't have something that, gives me some energy, excites me, gets me pumped up, gets me thinking. Yeah. So, in order to do that, you also have to, since you can't see us, you have to
have fun.
You got to have a little bit of fun. But, for those serious topics, I've been trying to be,
me too.
More serious.
So trying. You've been fine. So
fine.
We just say it. But if you guys want to, if you're listening on Spreaker, you can always check us out at our website too at tsradio.net.
Right.
So, but before we get into the Paradeep, it's time for some of the latest news.
Jam on it.
Interesting.
Headlines.
All right, so this was interesting. Tom Cruise, the actor, he believes his 10-year-old daughter, Suri, is controlled by an evil spirit and wants the child to undergo a Scientology exorcism.
I hope we don't have to take this seriously, not this one, please.
We do.
Guys,
So Tommy Cruise, we all know he's a Scientologist. He's
good actor.
He's a good actor. And I think ever since he went to Scientology, he sort of lost a lot of his gusto in Hollywood just because it's so weird. But anyways, Scientologists, they believe that humans are immortal beings who have lived for trillions of years. And they're infested. If you guys can hear that sizzling, that's because I'm so hot.
Or that I'm putting a little Sprite into a cup. Could be that. Could be.
Could be. Or it could be that I'm hot. And if you didn't hear it, you have no clue what I'm talking about. But I'm having a hard time hearing, and I can hear it. So
can you just stick to the program? Trillions of years we've
Rabbit
been around.
trailing is part of the program.
Trillion of years. Not really tough on a plant that ain't that old, but okay.
Okay, and that we are infested with body thetans, which are the disembodied souls left behind on Earth during an intergalactic genocide. And if that sounds sci-fi, that's because that's where Scientology originated from. Yeah,
they call me strange.
The main guy, I think his last name's Hubbard. He decided he was a science fiction writer, and he came up with this religion, and it just people went with it because he didn't realize how crazy people really were, and they are, like Tom Cruise. So, so sources are saying that Scientology leader, he's new, David Miscavige, fairly new. He's very close to Tom Cruise, and he's convinced the actor that his ex is suppressing his daughter. She left the church with her mom when her name's Suri. She left the church with her mom when Katie Holmes when they split up. So he says David Miscavige says that she's been infiltrated by a bad thetan, so she needs to be avoided. But that's why that's why Tom Cruise hasn't seen his 3-year-old or in 3 years, his 10-year-old daughter in 3 years. But he wants to reconnect with his daughter. So
you mean to tell me that he has purposely stayed away from his own daughter In the attempts to avoid the demon?
Well, I don't know. Tom hasn't called me lately, so I don't know exactly
No,
why.
I mean, is that what you basically said?
No, that guy is saying, the head Scientology guy is telling Tom Cruise he needs to stay away from her. Sort of like, if you're not going to be part of our Scientology church, because that's why his wife left him and stuff, and they got divorced, that you need to sort of banish them and leave them alone. I don't know why Tom Cruise, maybe she doesn't want to have anything to do with Scientology anymore, and she's keeping it, but I don't know. So, but now he wants to reconnect with her, and that means that she's going to need to be expelled of these demons. So
good luck with that.
Yeah, so he's seeking for Suri to go through some Scientology exorcism. The sessions of the exorcism...
One demon, two demons, Is that how they do it?
Probably. I know that they count the money because it's about $9,000 an hour to do this exorcism, and it's going to cost up to about $300,000 to expel demons from Suri, because we all know Scientology is a very expensive religion. Now, it's important to know that Tom Cruise's reps are denying these claims.
Of course.
But sources are saying that Scientology is very private and secretive, and Tom won't expose anything. So even if he says his reps are denying it, that doesn't mean it's not true. So wait. Okay, here's another story. Isn't that crazy,
Next in the news.
Isn't that crazy?
The whole Scientology thing. I mean, there's a lot of different religions out there. We know there's actually probably over 30,000 recognized religions, and then there's thousands of variations of each of those. And I know some of you people are like, what? Yeah. But this is not even a religion. It doesn't even... This is just so stupid.
It's nuts. Oh, yeah. Okay, so 28-year-old Rachel Trevor. She's a flight attendant for Endeavor Air, which is a Delta flight. She was just arrested for stealing over 1,500 mini bottles of liquor from a plane. She threw them in her purse and sold them on Craigslist.
Oh!
Yeah, cops caught her on Craigslist, and she stole over $10,000 worth of liquor.
Oh!
Now, the bottles are $9 on a plane. Can you believe that? That's crazy expensive. But she was selling them for $1 on Craigslist. So up to 10 years in prison she's looking at.
Oh.
Is that stupid? That's just, wow.
Yeah.
No, as if she's not getting enough money being a flight attendant. She's
Well, I mean, they don't make that much money, but...
Sure.
Depends on, how long they've been in, but... Wow. Oh.
Taking a break from being human. This is a cool story, in a way.
I do that all the time.
I know. 2015, Thomas, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Thwaites, he decided to take a break from being a human.
Oh.
He took
Very
measure
nice.
to transform himself into a goat and spent his days grazing in the Alps.
Oh, that sounds bad.
I know you're going to
Really
do it.
bad.
He took this quest very seriously.
Bad. I'm not doing a very good day.
Remember Goat Boy on Saturday Night Live? Do you remember that Goat Boy? On Saturday
Yeah,
Night?
I do remember
was
that.
Funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you know how goats graze? Well, they graze anywhere from 7 to 12 hours a day. That's a lot. So they use this organ called a rumen, and it's fills with microorganisms, and it helps break down all the grass into edible sugars.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have that organ. So Thomas built a pouch and put all the grass that he pulled from the ground and put it in there. Then he used a pressure cooker to cook the grass and break it down into a kind of grassy, stewy soup. And then he drank it. And before drinking it, he used a chemical test to confirm that the greens had been broken down into sugar. That is dedication to wanting to be a goat.
Yeah.
I
You
mean-
had to use a whole lot of humanism to get to that point. They're using pressure cookers and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how this made him a goat, but go ahead.
Well, because he lived like a goat. He stayed in the Alps and he grazed that many hours a day and he did everything. He slept outside, did everything a goat's supposed to do. That's crazy.
I bet he didn't drop little pellets.
He was probably dropping big pellets drinking that
Yeah.
stew. He actually said, it was just a nice experience walking around with a big clump of grass in your teeth and chewing it up. Okay.
Yeah, I could see that where that would
Sure,
be really
that's
nice.
good times.
Good times.
I used to make my postman mud pies. I wonder if you
Yeah,
like those.
well, you were like, what, 4? He's 28.
Well, Thomas wrote a
So-
book. It's called Goat Man, How I Took a Holiday from Being a Human. If you guys want to read about it. That was just interesting, I thought.
Yeah, I guess so. How about the next one? Spiders on a plane. On an air transit airline, 2 venomous tarantulas escaped on a plane in flight. Now, you can't even bring a block of cheese or perfume on a plane, but you can bring a venomous tarantula. Anyway, so Catherine Monroe, a passenger on the flight, felt something tickling on her bare leg. She looked down, saw the tarantula crawling up her leg. Her 11-year-old daughter, sitting next to her, started screaming. You think?
So they're not going to sue or anything, but could you imagine being on that plane? I mean, there's that movie Snakes on a Plane. And snakes actually don't freak me out, but tarantulas do. And if I'm on a plane, it's the last thing I'm thinking of is a tarantula.
Yeah, it's a ground animal, and you just don't think about a tarantula being crawling around. But
It must have been in like in the little pet thing in the back, or I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, a tarantula, I don't know where they came, or where was this flight from. It didn't say where the flight was from,
Nope.
or our thing does, but they may have been someplace where maybe...
Or
they escaped. It says they did escape. So they were part of the manifest or whatever.
Isn't that weird? Oh, okay, so another news story will lead us into tonight's topic. Last month in Concord, New Hampshire, Ian McPherson somehow bought a gun, despite...
Somehow?
Yes, because he has a diagnosis of schizophrenia. Now, you know, when you have a criminal record... You have to apply for a gun for 24 hours. They check you out or whatever, 48 hours, whatever. So they're wondering how a man with a history of mental illness like schizophrenia is allowed to buy a gun. Is it not a law or, you know, what? So somehow he gets a gun and he shoots and kills 2 police officers. Now lawmakers and gun rights activists are asking whether a man with a history of mental illness should have been able to buy a gun in the first place. And then, of course, you've got people who are like, oh, you can't judge us just because we have mental illness problems doesn't mean we can't have a gun. It's like, well, you know.
Well, we have to draw some limits. We can't just say, yeah, well, we know that you sometimes freak out and you want to shoot people, but, hey, we don't want to take any rights away.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like sort of.
You know,
It's sort of like saying, I know I'm blind, but I can still drive.
You know, I'm fine with people allowing to have guns, but I'm also fine with, you know, people...
There's got to be restrictions and rules.
More checks and balances to be sure. I mean, the bad guys are always going to have guns, but we do need to have as many checks and balances that we're giving people or whatever.
Yeah.
That we're doing the best we can with what we have. I mean...
Yeah, because people are going to buy them on the black market if they can't
it's
get them
hard
legally.
to say. So far, the law in many cases has failed anyways. I mean, they let a guy with 15 DUI still drive around until he kills somebody, and it's like, oh, that was bad, you know. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not like he bought this, like, off the record or anything. He went through a background check before buying the gun. But the story, they were still investigating that because it didn't specify whether he passed this test or not or whatever it is. Check. So McPherson's father says he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and should not have been able to buy a gun. His father and sister say that Ian has been in and out of psychiatric hospitals for years. But each time, he was just put on medication and released only after a few days. So his sister Sheena said that when he was on his medication, she said, he was like my brother again, someone you wanted to be around. But when Ian stopped taking his medication, his demons returned.
Yeah.
And it caught my attention, even though this was just a story that was in the news, but the whole schizophrenia and then her comment about the demons. Because if you notice, when you're dealing with people with mental illness, usually schizophrenia or, you know, like different personalities and stuff, you'll often hear the words indicated demons. Whether it's the person who has the disease or people around them will always attribute it, whether they're meaning actual demons or, you know, what is that, skeletons in the closet or, you know, so why? Why is this always referred to as demons? I mean, if you think about it, it's sort of weird. But, you know, why not? Why do people with schizophrenia always see demons? Why not aliens or cowboys or bugs or animals? Why always demons? And then sometimes you'll find someone with... I've talked to a lot of people. We've counseled a lot of people, and I know people who have certain illnesses.
Well, I don't know about you, but for me, I know I've seen a million faces, and I've rocked them all.
Have you?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Because you're a cowboy?
No. Yeah. Ride on a steel horse mostly, but go ahead.
So, tonight we're going to be talking about when is mental illness disease and when is it demons. Since 1949, May has been observed as the Mental Health Month in the United States. And then the 16th through the 22nd of May is designated as Mental Health Awareness Week. Since your birthday falls on the 20th, you're right smack dab
Wow,
in the middle.
yeah, imagine that. Swell.
Its purpose is to raise awareness about mental illnesses. So I think this was a perfect time to make aware that it could be spiritual oppression, right?
Yeah.
So why do we say this? First, when the work that we do, we see it rampant in the whole area of paranormal. And unfortunately, that gives skeptics a great wall to lean on in their disbelief. They cry science and physical. Only medical stuff's going to help. But we say the physical and the medical issue is often spiritually instilled. So how many cases have we had where there was mental illness or bipolar or schizophrenia or something involved?
Well, it's at least more than half. That's not to say all mental health problems are spiritual. Now, the Bible does distinguish between disease and demons. Like in Matthew 4:24, it says, where it says people brought to Jesus those with different diseases and torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which were lunatic,
Crazy.
and those that had palsies, and he healed them.
So there's two separate things going on.
There's different things going on.
Now, I view it like as if you were driving a car. So let's say you're in a car and you have something physically going on, okay? It's like driving through a thick fog in a storm, trying to sort of get your way through that, trying to find where you're going. Whereas if it's demonically infused, it would be more like a demon's at the wheel and you're trying to fight for control of the car.
Okay.
So there's a difference to me
like that.
between spiritual madness and a
Right.
physical madness.
Right.
So we're not saying that every case is...
No.
No.
No, not everything is the same. Not everything's a cookie cutter. You know, the most common mental health disease we hear about are depression, anxiety disorder, bipolar, which is, very, very common.
Yeah.
ADHD. I mean, everybody seems to have that. If you're in school, it's like, he can't learn. He's got ADHD.
My kid can't behave.
Yeah,
ADHD.
OCD, schizophrenia. They're usually blamed on genetics, stress, and brain structure.
They leave out tainted food and possibly chip implant for the government robot guinea pig. But that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, a whole different thing, yeah.
But we're going to focus on the increase.
Or the fact that they're so concerned about women when they're pregnant, making sure that you're taking this vitamin, right? You're taking this, you're getting this shot, and your child has this shot, and that shot, and this shot, and that shot, and this shot, and that shot. It's like, why are you so stinking concerned about how many holes you stick in my kid?
Oh, yeah.
And then you say, well, look at the increase in autism. All these things happen, and it's not by mistake.
No. And they, like they say, people get cancer because we all have certain cells, like cancer cells. Some people get cancer, some people don't, right? And I think that's like this. We all have the same weaknesses in our bodies, and some people will just fall prey to, if they take these pills and these, things, shots and immunizations or whatever, antibiotics, it just depends on what you're taking. And sometimes it's a test, sort of like where we were talking about the Plum Island. I mean, they just test things out and,
Yeah.
So, but that's what we're going to focus on, the increase in dark spiritual activity.
Working in this area of supernatural and hauntings, we come across this stuff all the time. But it's also a common part of our society now, and it's all over the news, in our schools, and it's in our hospitals.
Mental illness is a wide range of conditions. It'll affect your mood, your thinking, your behavior. Sometimes it's called PMS. Once a month you get it. I don't know. Now, the world claims physical causes and help, but...
How's that working out for you? Do you like popping pills, feeling numb, seeing a doctor every week? We have a different take on this that may give you some hope.
Yeah.
Matthew 6:22 and 23, it says, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light, in which nothing complicates or confuses it. But if thy eye be evil, the whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness?
What that's saying is, what are we focusing on in our daily life? What do we involve our life with? What are we watching? Who are we listening to? the supernatural has so many ties to things
Oh,
in this
yeah.
world. We're so used to it that we don't even notice it.
And that's, oh, man, you're just hitting such a vein there about what you said. You know, with what are you watching, what are you focusing on, and people don't break down their every day. They're so used to different things.
We're a product of our environment.
Right, we're products of our environment, and they think nothing of it. It could be the simple drive to work. Let's just say, for some reason, they just go through a really rough area to go to work. And on their way to work, they're seeing maybe a little domestic yelling, screaming outside of somebody's front porch. You know, they're seeing some homeless guy with a sign that could be working.
Yep.
They're seeing just little things just going someplace, and they don't think that affects them.
You know what? You saying that. The other day, I was in a pretty good mood. Went to Dunkin' Donuts, got my coffee. The sun was shining, sunroof open. I'm all singing, yeah! I get to the store. I get a couple things. I'm in line behind this lady that I just by looking at her, did not get a good vibe. But she's got her, I would say maybe 2-year-old in the cart, in the front part of the cart. And the kid isn't doing anything. The kid's doing kid things. The mom's checking out. And the kid's, like talking, like, no big deal.
I was really young.
Yeah. Smacks the kid. Yells at him, or her, I can't remember. And just like, you better knock it off. And it just put me in such a crummy mood because I'm like, that kid didn't do anything. But it was that negative energy.
Yep.
And so, I mean,
it
like
follows
you're saying,
people, and it's in your music. I mean, and we're all guilty of the same thing. And it was quite a few years ago before and we're not going to have a thing on that right now. But our music and some of this stuff goes way back. And if you stop and you start just write down the lyrics or read the lyrics and start realizing what you've been singing all these years, it's like, well, it's just this, it's just that, it's harmless, whatever. Is it? I mean, like my one friend always says, just how much poop in your oatmeal is okay. I mean, if you have a giant vat of oatmeal and there's only one little turd in it, I mean, really, isn't most of it good? Well, that's the same thing with our music or what we see or our commercials on our television or what programs we're watching. Everything has an effect on us.
But the problem that we have in society now is people are liking turds. They're convinced that turds are okay. There's a little fertilizer in there. Just put a little sugar on the turd.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? It's that people aren't recognizing. And an example would be like, there's a lot of TV shows out there that are really good because of the dialogue and the reality, and it makes you feel and it makes you put yourself in that position. But then if you step back and look at the show, all the killing and the anger,
yeah.
You do feel that. And whether you're saying, oh, that doesn't bother me, it may not, but it does add on.
Garbage in,
garbage out.
Garbage out.
Yeah, totally.
You only put in so much crap into the head or into your mouth or into your body, in your air, your water, whatever, and you will produce a certain amount of garbage out.
And if you notice, there has been an upsurge of shows that have to do with demons, movies that have to do with demonic stuff. And that's, I wonder, is that because people are calling for it because, or is it's that is causing people to call for it? I don't know which, it's just a snowball that kept rolling, and I don't know where it began, but now we're out of control with, and I know a lot of people are into horror movies, and that's fine, but what I'm saying is there's always a consequence to your action.
Yeah.
And so, you've got, let's say, a 2-year-old who, started watching scary movies with their parents. Parents had them in a little swing and didn't even notice. They're watching
Look at Johnny, look at the baby demon.
I mean,
Yeah.
And
But they don't think nothing of it.
And to be honest, I fell into that category because when our kids were really young, I loved scary movies. And I had on the same VCR tape, yes, VCR, if you guys don't know what that is, you can Google it. On the same VCR tape, I had Cat in the Hat, followed by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So when our kids would watch Cat in the Hat, it would flow right into, Heidi, why are you doing that? It's like, so, and I look back now.
But you didn't think of it.
No.
At the time, I mean, and there's so many people, and there could be a good portion of people listening today, you're like, you don't even realize it until somebody points it out or shows it, and you're like, well, I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said,
Yeah.
you really had Cat in Hat, and then followed by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is really a pretty rough movie.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and so it's like,
I was letting my 7-year-old watch Mike Myers. That's Halloween. on TV on Halloween because I was into it and I wasn't thinking. And I'm so embarrassed to say that, but I did. And so we become numb to our environment.
He's in an institution now. But anyways.
So, I mean, that's sort of, it can be a foundation. And I'm not saying that Mike Myers causes mental illness. What I'm just saying is we're products of our environment.
We are.
So that's one aspect we need to look at.
And our tolerances for what our environment is so much different from what it was. And every generation gets a little worse.
Yep.
You know, and we're growing deeper and deeper, so.
Yeah, well, so when people watch these things, they don't feel right, or they start, you know, and we all go through things in our life where we get sad and we go through bouts of depression or anger, and that happens. But I'm talking about continual. So when they don't feel right, they either ignore it, and it just keeps going, and it'll either go away, or it gets worse, or they get help. So they get help because they're hearing voices, or they see people who aren't there. They say, my child's become erratic and violent, or I feel sick when I try to interact with everyday life, or I just can't get happy. So they'll go see a doctor. Well, these are things that we can deal with on our own, but people are so dependent now on, I've got depression. Oh, I think I'm bipolar. You know, I think I've got a disorder.
And the United States is one of the worst because everything seems to have an answer with medication. Oh, you need a medication. You need medication. You need a drug. You need a drug. You need a drug.
Yeah.
And when it starts coming into some of this stuff, medication is just it's just going to put a cover over it. It doesn't fix anything.
Exactly.
I'm not saying all. I'm saying
it
in a good amount of cases, you haven't done anything.
And we're actually going to hear some clips from people and some of the things they say, and you're going to hear that in there. Mm-hmm. There's this one guy that ends up saying they're interviewing him, and I think he's got schizophrenia, and the reporter asks him, does the medication take away the demons? And he says no, and I think he says something like, it holds me back from reacting or believing them or something.
He can hear them, but the medication's just enough for him to quit reacting to what they or doing what they tell him to do.
Yeah, I think he says
so. There's a level of help there, maybe for the rest of us, for his case, but in other words, it's all there yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
So when people do get help, it's usually something's wrong with your brain, or you have a chemical imbalance. Something's happened to you, and you can't get over it. So it's sort of like your fault. And take a pill and call me in the morning.
Right.
You know.
Now, we know in Ephesians 6:12 it says that we struggle with is not physical, but a spiritual fight. It says we wrestle with principalities and powers, not of this world. Now, that word principality actually means demons. And powers, original meaning is they have authority. It even mentions they rule the darkness. And darkness translates into ignorance, respecting divine things. So, don't allow them to run your mindset. We need to know what we're dealing with in order to get well. If the disease you're dealing with is demonic, you have to fight it spiritually.
Right.
Can't take, it's like fighting, water and what do they say, oil and water. It doesn't work that way. You have to, it only makes sense. You have to fight physical with physical, mental with mental, spiritual with spiritual. So the problem is, I got my little cough. The problem is, most of your medical field will not understand that you have a mental issue and it's got to be fought spiritually. They don't see it that way. Everything's got to be, any problem you have must have a medication for it.
That verse also explains that there's spiritual wickedness in high places. And that original meaning is that evil has a purpose relating to our human spirit. Isn't that crazy? So take the case of that Ian guy, okay? His father said he was well. He was fine until he hit his teens. No sign of anything. When he hit his teens, he turned goth. Got involved with the occult, and he was cutting and everything. But then later, shortly later, I think in his 20s, he was also in a car accident where he suffered a severe head injury. So it started before the head injury, but maybe he had something going on. The head injury made it worse because that's one of his problems. But I'm going to play a clip of a man who's being interviewed. He is it's a 2-minute clip. He's got schizophrenia, so this is really interesting.
So your official diagnosis is schizophrenic psychosis. Is that correct?
For the time being, yes.
For the time being? How do you mean?
My illness does not really fit, in any medical definition.
Could you describe to us your illness and your symptoms?
I suffer from hallucinations. I see and feel and hear things that are not real.
Sorry, is that funny?
No.
What kind of medication are you getting?
Drugs. Antipsychotic drugs.
Do they help?
Yes.
So the medication makes the hallucinations go away?
No. But they help me decide what is real and not real. They help me understand that I don't have to obey and do everything they say.
When you say they, what exactly do you see?
Demons.
Even now? In here as we speak?
Yes.
Where?
Right there, right behind you.
Right behind me. Does he say anything?
Yes.
What does he say?
He tells me to hurt you. He wants me to hit you. He wants me to cut you. I'm tired now. I want you to go.
That is just so creepy to me. He's got this demonic laugh, and then, like I said, that part where the reporter asks him if it makes the hallucinations, the pills make the hallucinations go away. He says, "No, I just don't have to obey them." And then he just laughs and talks about these urges he has. It's just crazy. So how do we know when it is demonic? There's a couple of things that we've noticed in our experience in hauntings and dealing with people with mental illness. Now, demons will always be acknowledged. They are prideful. They want acknowledgement. They don't hide who they are. They may say there's something else, but they want to be acknowledged. Whether it be a demonic voice or someone sees a demonic face, or they just say it's a spirit. So, when you've got somebody who's, let's say, schizophrenic and they're having hallucinations of bunnies coming out of the wall, okay? Not necessarily demonic. When someone says, demons are telling me to kill you, they come to me every night, they got this creepy laugh like this guy, that's probably demonic. Yeah. So, just common sense. The second thing is, it'll never be just one thing. When you've got demonic, that is a lot of dark energy. So you're going to have things that coincide with these visions. You're going to have some kind of haunting activity, night terrors, and if you've practiced spiritual things prior, or you have a sudden urge to, that all sort of goes together. So those are two key things for knowing that it's demonic. We've got some stats and facts from NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And these stats are just crazy. You want to read some of them?
I do. I actually would really like to read some of the stats.
Awesome.
43.8 million people experience mental illness every year.
Now,
50% of the mental illness, mental health issues began by age 14. Let's bear in mind that 320 million people in the U.S.
Okay.
Now, every year, 2.9% of the U.S. population is diagnosed with bipolar.
That's a lot.
18.1% of adults in the U.S. experience an anxiety disorder. Among the 20.2 million adults in the U.S. who experience a substance use disorder, 50% of them, or say 10 million adults, had a co-occurring mental illness at the same time.
Jeez.
So we got substance abuse seems to also, in 50% of the cases, follows
Well, and that's true too,
mental
because
issues.
I grew up seeing spirits, and I would drink so I wouldn't see them anymore. You know,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now, mood disorders, including major depression.
Dismith disorder. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, well, neither do I. And bipolar disorder are the third most common causes of hospitalization in the U.S. for both youth and adults 18 to 44. Now, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. It's the second leading cause of death for people 15 to 24. More than 90% of the children who die by suicide have mental health condition.
Isn't that sad?
Suicide.
People do it not because they want to die. You know, people are. I see such an apathy for people who commit suicide, but they don't want to die. They just want the pain or the mental
issue
torment
or whatever's
to stop.
going on to stop. Yeah, they just want it to stop. Yeah, it's not that they don't want to. They don't want to die. They don't want to die. It's like
yeah, they
just
want
don't
to
live
live
in the way they are living and what they're dealing with.
You know,
I mean, I think many years ago before we kind of met or anything, I mean, my view on people, their problems, their issues, their thoughts and ideas was a lot of it like, what a wuss, toughen up, just get through it. What's wrong with you? And as I went through time, and we started doing this stuff through the years and stuff. I started realizing, you just don't know what somebody's going through. You just have to be so careful.
right?
How you judge or how you think of somebody, no matter how they appear. And even sometimes when you see somebody is like doing stuff, it's like, you're bringing this all upon yourself. I mean, it's not that they're that ignorant that they're doing it. There's a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the reason's good, what they're doing or why it's happening to them, but there's always a reason.
Yeah.
It's like, and I've grown a lot as a person just experiencing other people, and I'm very careful inside my own mind before I think about somebody else. Like, look at somebody and, it's like, oh, what a loser. I don't really think that way anymore. It's just like, and what has happened to bring somebody to that level?
Yeah.
Does he hear voices? What has happened to this individual to allow them to get such a low place?
And there's such a depth and complexity, I should say, to this whole issue, because we being Christians, we find that non-Christians get it more than Christians do, which is crazy because this is sort of like, I guess, dialogued in the Bible about this stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know somebody who's a Christian, and most of his life before he became a Christian, he had an addiction to pornography. I don't know the depth of it. I don't want to know. But he told us this. Well, as he gets older, he has kids or whatever, and he has this one kid who now has a problem with looking at women and has been in jail for many, many years because of this.
Right.
Well,
Peeping Tom.
Yeah, but his name's not Tom.
No,
And-
but it's...
I don't get it.
I
Just
need to
making
be
a
a little
joke.
bit more serious.
Sorry.
With these type of topics.
Sorry, sir. All right. But the point is that we said, you know what?
I'm making a serious face, just so you know.
They tried to give him medication, and they put him in jail, and they gave him therapy, and nothing's working. And he is the nicest guy
He
in
really
the
is.
world.
But it's
a spiritual
and
battle,
he
and they're
actually
not
had
getting
said
it.
something to his dad one time a number of years ago, and actually being locked up, it's like he feels absolutely fine. He don't even think about any of these things. It's almost like the demons just step back away from him, saying, "There's nothing we can do here."
Let him suffer. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but when he's out, he says something like, "Dad, I hear the voices and these thoughts, and I just can't." I mean, he's 40 years old. This is not a kid.
Yeah, and he's a very nice person. So
And
it's a spiritual thing.
right.
In that case, at least. I can't say all.
Yeah, no.
So I know that
Yeah, we're not putting, for those of you, there's always going to be a few hecklers out there and be like, "Oh, you people think everything's a demon." Look, we don't know. All we do know is that we have enough experience to know that some of them are.
Yeah. Well, you got to connect all the dots.
And, we also know that through our experience that for the most part, drugs don't help.
Yeah.
They just cover it up. So
when
we've
Robin
helped.
Williams died,
Yeah.
he had that same type of issue. He was an alcoholic for many years.
Many years.
Yeah.
Even way back into
Mork.
Before Mork and Mindy.
Oh, before.
That's why Pam Dauber didn't want to work.
She
didn't want to work with him because he was a drunk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They never got along because of that.
Oh. And he seems like the coolest guy. Jim Carrey has contemplated suicide, and he actually has found alternative ways, he said, without getting into detail, how to combat his depression and everything. Yeah. So, I mean, this is, and there's famous people who have bipolar. Vincent van Gogh, which we talked about a couple things ago, where the guy with the artist ear guy.
Yeah. Yeah,
he had bipolar. In fact, he died of suicide. Catherine Zeta-Jones, who is Zorro's chick, she's married to Michael Douglas, and he had a hard time with her because of her bipolar. And since then, she's got it under wraps now, but she wasn't dealing with it, I guess. Demi Lovato is bipolar. Jean-Claude Van Damme, but he just probably kicks it out of people. Kurt Cobain.
Just what you need to do is have a guy like that bipolar.
Yeah, no kidding. No wonder he doesn't make movies anymore.
Sorry, I must kick your face off. Great.
Great. Kurt Cobain from Nirvana. He was bipolar. He ended up committing suicide. And I found this interesting. J.K. Rowling, who wrote all the Harry Potter books, she struggled with depression for many years, she said. And in her book, in the movie too, she has these creatures. They're called the Dementors. She said, and what they are, I don't know, you haven't seen it, but they're these like dark soul-sucking creatures, and they feed off human happiness, right?
Dark soul-sucking creatures.
She said that idea emerged from that depression. So, I mean, you wonder where people get these thoughts. And on our Facebook page, I'm going to post tonight all these pictures, drawings from people who have had bipolar, schizophrenia, and you tell me that these people don't have some kind of demon with them. Where do you get these thoughts and ideas from? You know
exactly.
What I'm saying?
Especially when we start dealing, not going back all the time on that Slenderman case.
Yeah.
With these young girls.
Yes.
And some of the things they were drawing and doing, it's like, didn't anybody see the red flags here? Were they looking at the flags? I'm like, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, children normally just don't do some things. So where did it come from?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, this is the way it is. No, it's not the way it is.
Yeah.
It's the way you're allowing it to be. Or that's the kind of crap you let your kid be involved in or see or watch.
Or you're just not being a good parent, being vigilant.
Or whatever. It's like you have to say, wait a minute, what are you doing there? So, I don't know.
I'm going to play another clip. This is of a little boy, and he's being interviewed by Oprah. And you'll hear him, what he wants to say and how he's explaining it is what he's being honest about. But you can tell by some of the terms he uses
are his
his parents sort of forced on him, because you can tell. And then Oprah is like, well, you mean this? And he's like, no, I don't.
Right. She keeps trying to lead him on or whatever.
So this is interesting. Listen to this.
Do you know what causes you to be that way?
The negativity. When I'm calm and peaceful like I am now, this is the real me.
This is the real you.
When I'm all out of control, that's not the real me.
Do the negative energies feel separate from you? The negative energy isn't you, it's separate from you.
Yes.
And the negative energies come, and do they talk to you? Do they speak to you? Do they make you feel a certain way?
Sometimes out of the blue, I just hear like a voice that says something. I'm really not sure.
So there was a time, though, do you remember when you went to your mom and said, voices were telling you to do bad things?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Can you describe that time for me?
Like, I was hearing voices a little bit.
And what were they saying?
Once, one of the voices sounded like my dad. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was my grandpa, trying to communicate with me. I think sometimes that's not the actual person who's talking to you. It's not like someone who actually died. Well,
did your grandpa die?
Yes, he died, but the negativity can transform into anything. Mm-hmm. And
I get it. It takes its own form.
Yes.
Yeah, it takes its own form.
Into anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it can...
transform to anybody's voice?
Yes.
Yeah.
One was in my dad's voice, and other in some creepy voices.
Inside your head?
No, coming from every direction.
Yeah. But they're outside of you.
Yes.
Do you think that they're in your mind?
No, they're all around me.
Do you feel like it's yourself when you get angry?
No, it's not myself.
Does something happen to trigger the negative energies?
Yes. I had all light around me, but then the negativity feeds off of your energy until the whole world is just all covered in
Negativity.
yes.
Yeah, I think that's
negative people.
I think that's pretty profound what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
So he's pretty sure that it's not in his head.
Yeah,
You can
he
tell.
seemed real sure of what he was saying.
But you can tell, like, his parents are telling him one thing, so he's confused.
Right.
And that's what happens to kids and youth and people in the world, is they unfortunately don't know the spiritual realities that we do, and they just sort of succumb to
It's
all this
hard
stuff.
it's hard to help somebody if you don't understand what's going on with them.
Right.
Like this kid, if it was our case and we were meeting him, we'd already have a different level of understanding where he is. Where
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, you mean it's inside your head? You mean you're hearing voice?" No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
It's like, just let the kid speak. He knows what he's talking about because it's his head.
Right.
And then try to figure out what you need to do. You can't coach somebody into how they're feeling.
It's all around him,
Yeah.
he said.
So it's all around him.
He
He's-
talked about the light. He's talking
Yeah.
about his soul and the light.
Right.
It's
He's
so
a lot more understanding than you think.
Yeah. So stop trying to form these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your own channel, Oprah.
She does have,
Oh,
and her own magazine.
okay.
Like with me, I was hearing and seeing spirits since I was like 4 years old, as long as I can remember. And then as I got older, I got heavy into the occult because I couldn't find the answers to these things.
So you were working with what you had.
Yeah. And then from grade school into my 20s, I was practicing a lot of that stuff. So when I was a teenager, I started feeling the effects of all the stuff I was practicing, and I was diagnosed with manic depressive disorder, which now is known as bipolar 1.
Okay.
So they put me on all kinds of meds, and it does. It numbs you, and you feel like a zombie. So what I would do was I would go out drinking, and I'd pop a bunch of those, like Stay Wakes, those No-Dos. So I had energy in drinking, but I was still on my pills. It was like, and I can see where people become addicted to pills, and they're trying to manage their life, and they don't know how to do it. So they're taking all these things,
Well, if it is spiritual oppression, James 4 tells us we have to submit to what God says and resist what the world says, and the adversary will leave. Now, I know that that's scripture. I mean, it's not word for word or nothing there, but in James 4. But I just want to point out real quick that when you read that in James 4, it's going to talk to submit to what God says, and then
you can resist.
You can resist. Everybody's like, oh, all you have to do is believe, and the devil will resist. No, it says you have to submit to God's word. There's a lot to that.
Yeah.
So
You hear that a lot. They say, resist the devil, and he has to flee.
No,
it's not what it
submit
says.
to God, then you can resist the devil. I mean, you got to have the the coach on your side first.
And when people are like, well, I don't believe in God and stuff, and that's fine, you don't have to. I'm just saying what works for us, what's worked for our clients, the ones that actually took the advice, and what has helped, what has shown us. We know what hasn't worked, and we know what works. And not, like, again, we said before, not every single case is mental illness, but if Ephesians 6:12 does say that we do battle against spiritual things things can overcome. So let's say you do have a mental illness that was from a trauma. God can heal that, right? He can heal an arm, he can heal a leg, he can cure blindness and deafness. So he certainly can heal a mental illness if it's physical too. So it's the same thing. I'm going to play another clip of this girl named Janny, and it's interesting how she lives and what she has to say. So check this out.
But now, when I look back at these home videos, I see the signs that something darker was already going on inside our little daughter's mind.
See something? Is there something there that you see?
This is the second time that we've noticed her really intent on something. As Janny got older, we started to notice that something wasn't quite right. She often seemed focused on things that weren't really there. When Janny first demanded to be called by other names, we believed it was just her remarkable imagination. And Janny's getting her nails painted for the first time. Her blue-eyed. But by 2 years old, our daughter's imaginary friends started showing up. When she became violent at 5 was the first time that we thought, okay, something is seriously wrong now. She'd finally told us that Wednesday and 400 were telling her to hit, and that if she didn't hit, then they would scratch her, they would bite her until she did. It wasn't like tantrum violence. It's not like, slapping. She would scratch until she drew blood. She bit till she drew blood. She would, she would try to run her nails down my face to try and scratch my eyes out. And then seconds later, she was back to being sweet again.
When things got really bad, she would try to hurt herself.
So there you go. They're hurting themselves. They're lashing out in violence. What does it have to do with schizophrenia? Schizophrenia has to do with paranoia. Schizophrenia has to do with seeing things. So now they're lashing out in violence.
Yeah, there you go.
The Bible talks about that too. Now, the Anxiety Association of America says that the number one mental illness in the U.S. is depression. It's the number one cause of disability across the United States. Estimated over 25 million people, which leads suicide to be the third cause of death among children 15 to 19. Isn't that sad? Just thinking about the kids that want to take their life. It breaks my heart. There's general anxiety disorder, which supposedly 6.8 million adults in the U.S. have. That leads to a slew of other issues: panic attacks, depression, irritable bowel syndrome, asthma, migraine, substance abuse. It leads to different things. Now, 15 million people have social anxiety disorder, which is a social interaction problem. It causes high anxiety. The typical age, 13.
The age of puberty and stuff, though, too.
Yeah.
Now, bipolar, mood swings ranging from depressive lows to manic highs. Some of the signs: kids dropping grades, they quit sports teams or other activities, being suspended from school, arrested, fighting, drug use, engage in risky sexual behavior or talk about death and even suicide. For adults, basically the same: quitting activities that made you happy, trouble with your friends, friendships, fighting, drug use, erratic sexual behavior, and suicidal thoughts.
Well, there's reasons for these things. Now, the same reasons that the science and medical field give, which is trauma. There's been some kind of trauma when they're younger, abuse or something like that. That can open a door to demonic activity. There are numerous cases where a woman has been raped, and then all of a sudden she experiences hauntings, and interest in the occult, and it shows how that
something
spirit
got opened up.
Right, yeah.
Sure.
I don't disagree with trauma causing these things, but it also can lead demons to go into that situation as well. Now, we do believe in generational curses causing this, the occult use causing this, fearing, like demons, being so interested in them, but yet fearing them, that whole feeling. And then there's lying spirits. There are spirits that will lure people in some way, somehow. Now, the info that we gave on Ephesians 6:12, this would wipe out these statements. 1, you have a mental illness and it's physical. That Ephesians 6:12 wipes that out. 2, you are the source of the lies in your head. Okay?
Well, wipes it out.
You keep it because you want to keep it. That's what doctors will tell you. And number 4, there is no cure for it, just maintenance. So, people are like, well, I don't believe in the Bible. But you know what? If you read some of the things that this says, it gives you hope. It gives you strength. And it has helped. I never had to take a pill again. I wiped out all the dark stuff.
Fibromyalgia and all that stuff.
Yeah, fibromyalgia was gone.
So,
all these terrible things. This whole bipolar I supposedly had.
Yeah.
It's gone.
So, yeah. Now, our brain is a physical organ in our bodies, just like our kidneys, gallbladder, and liver, except maybe not. My gallbladder doesn't really, I don't think it's really living anymore. It's there. It's in my body, but I can assure you it's not all that. Anyways, like those organs, our brain can become impaired. Some people are born with damaged brains. It happens. Some have brains that become damaged, accidents. This would not make someone see demon spirits or hear voices to hurt and kill. You know, for a lot of these, there are a good number of people who have that ability to see things. Right. That's seventh or sixth sense or whatever you would say. And those people are like, yeah, you have no idea. Or even yourself. Right. And there's a whole realm which it exists around us and in us. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. This realm can affect all sorts of people, whether you see them or not.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like the wind. We can't see the wind. You physically can't see the wind or the air. You can't see it unless there's dirt or debris or something in it. But look at the damage it can cause.
Yeah.
And you say, you know, I could step outside. Oh, look at that air. That could be very violent. You're like, well, I can't even see air. You can't see air. But it can kill you.
Yeah.
Real quick. Kind of like the demon world. It's out there. It exists. It's real. You don't know exactly what's going on with it, where it is, but it is there, and it can do stuff.
In my book, I talk about how dogs have this hearing. They can hear things. Just because we don't hear it doesn't mean it's not happening. We just don't have the same hearing.
They can sense things, too. Cats and dogs, too, are really good at sensing spiritual things.
Yeah, earthquakes, they say, and things.
Demons, too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of reactions on a lot of cases where we go to people's homes. One thing's, when we're called in, we'll watch the animals in the house, dog or cat. And you'll be able to know it's like, yeah, something ain't right there. And the lady or person will be like, yeah, he always does that. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for that. The dog stares at the corner for hours at a time and growls at the refrigerator or what have you. There's reasons for it. There's, you know, sometimes it is just a goofy dog like ours, but other times it's like, there's another sign there. That's why animals and birds and planes, they know storms and weather's coming or
hurricanes, typhoons, earthquakes.
Yeah, they know. All of a sudden, where'd everybody go? Where are all the animals? They went hiding.
That's true.
From what? Something's coming.
So they can sense it.
They sense it.
So what's to say people don't have that sense in a different aspect,
right.
You know?
Physical damage can be caused by hallucinations where demons will try to form those hallucinations and invoke fear and chaos. Number one, that's the demonic world loves fear and chaos.
So if it's already instilled,
right,
they will play with it. So if someone's already unpredictable, emotional, despondent, erratic, or practicing something dark, demons can leap on that issue and make it an emotional chaos.
Just makes it easier. So much easier to drown if there's just a little bit of water.
It's true.
You know, so that's the demon's like, a little bit of trouble. You open up a little bit of door. So much easier for me to flow in that. You know?
And they toy around with it. And then they know that no one believes them, and so they come and go as they please.
Right.
There's also borderline personality disorder. That's a condition where you have difficulty controlling your emotion. It leads to severe unstable mood swings, impulsiveness, and instability in every aspect of your life. You'll have a poor self-image and stormy personal relationships. They say 5.9 of the U.S. population alone has that. That's over 400,000 people. And then there's, we've talked about it before, schizophrenia. And people who have listened to our podcast or read my book, they know my story. I'm not going to tell it again. But I have that whole schizophrenia thing. So I'm going to play a clip of these kids that have schizophrenia, and you just have to, the key is to listen to what they say. It's very interesting.
Stop! No! Stop! No!
These are not temper tantrums. You're listening to the demons inside 15-year-old Brenna Wollenberg's head. The voices she can't hide from. Telling her to hurt herself and others.
No.
Psychotic episodes where evil spirits tell Brenna to kill.
When you have your own child saying to you, I am not a monster. I am not a monster. But I want to love you, but I can't because the voices won't let me.
And Brenna is not the only one who suffers from mental illness. So does the Wollenbergs' middle child, Ailish.
I'm worrying about dying, even though I'm, 13?
See, sadness overpowers Ailish. The first time she tried to kill herself, she was just 6. She even tried to kill her younger sister.
I just remember that I got really, really angry, and then my hands were around her neck.
Now, you may think this is an isolated case, but it's not, because just a few miles from where the Wollenbergs live, another family is struggling as well.
I'm schizophrenic.
You're what?
Schizophrenic.
What does that mean?
I see things that right there.
And some of those hallucinations are commanding, violent. Even as a newborn, her parents noticed something was different.
What is it that you see? Something Mommy and Daddy can't see, huh?
By 5, the visions grew, some showing up as people, some as animals. She calls most of them numbers.
But what does AD tell you to do, sweetie?
Jump off buildings.
Jump off buildings?
The voices would also tell her to hurt herself, even her parents.
So, I mean, I just found it interesting that there were 2 kids just miles apart that had the same thing. But, I mean, if you listen to what they say, I mean, these voices are telling them to kill and hurt and jump off buildings. And she tried to commit suicide at 6
years old. I mean, who even know? A 6-year-old shouldn't even know what the word suicide means.
Right. So
there would be no purpose for a 6-year-old to know that.
It just, see, and what I'm saying, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
And there's treatments, medications, mood stabilizers, antipsychotic pills, antidepressant pills. There's psychotherapy, electroconvulsive therapy, self-management strategies, meditation, education. Doctors consider faith and prayer complementary health approaches.
Of course.
But maybe we should try it the other way around.
With stats like that and numbers increasing, when do you say maybe it's try something different?
Right.
Why not? Because with the Word of God and going that route, there's no cost involved.
Yeah. It's not going to hurt you.
You're better off knowing the Word. I'm not saying believe every word of it. I'm saying just know it so that you can make a decision. So many people say, I don't believe this, I don't believe that, I don't want to believe that, I don't, blah, blah, blah. Have you read it? Well, no, but. Well, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know everything either.
I mean, how often do you go ahead and say, I think I'm going to bake a cake, and you just wing it? The whole thing. Never.
Follow the instructions. And then you
never. I think we can eat raw chicken, can't we?
Oh.
You going to check it out? You going to find out or just try it?
It says, Cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm. So if you use physical things to guide you, you're screwed. Jeremiah 17:5.
When dealing with spiritual battle, you must use spiritual tools. You're going to need a little faith. Pray, seek to know the truth, not just answers that the world gives you. Choose to live by that truth.
Now, you may or may not have faith in God or the Bible, but I'm going to share with you some comments by this lady in the online group I was in. The discussion on the table was what helps rid hauntings and spiritual oppression. And she chimed in and said, and she's definitely not a Christian, she said, primal and spiritual energies have been around for longer than your God. Okay? And then she said, stating that people should follow God and their experiences will stop is bull. And then she goes on to mention some bad things that were happening while she was Christian. And then she says, religion is a ploy to pacify people. So I want to respond to this because I know a lot of people feel that way. But number one, okay, how do you know primal and spiritual energies have been around longer than God? I mean, was she there? Where's your proof? That is just an opinion. So you can't state that as fact. Number two, it's not bull because you and I, Scott, and other people have seen it. And that's actually how we found our faith in God. Because his word started proving itself in our
right,
work.
Proving itself to us.
In the spiritual.
We seeked out God. We stepped forward. And God stepped forward and says, you seek me? Let me show you a few things.
I mean, we just took a little step. And I think, and then what God did was he showed us some like supernatural things. Like we mentioned before, one of the major things for me was that house that was haunted, and that one room was infested with flies.
Right.
All you did was lift the Bible, and all those flies fell. Now, God did it to show us. He doesn't care what happens to the flies, to show us.
Yeah,
and when people take a step towards this...
It was a symbolic statement to show that there's power in the word. I didn't even read anything. I just picked it up.
And, I mean, it's crazy. So
we can't, people can say what they want to say, but we already know. This is why we have a podcast. This is why we say and do some of these things and try to help people out. Because we've already seen cause and effect.
Yep.
The right way and the wrong way.
And I guess I also want to say that we don't speak religion. Now, we agree that religion is to pacify people. Because we're not religious. We just follow God and the Bible.
Right.
But you can't eliminate truth by denying it. Scripture is the only thing that works for us.
For those of you that are confused, look up the word religion and research it out, and you'll find out that religion is not necessarily a good word.
Yeah, we're not religious.
Now, I want to read you guys something, and so I'm going to. Well,
Me.
La, la, la. When we tell you these things, we do not use words that come from human wisdom. Instead, we speak words given to us by the Spirit, using the Spirit's word to explain spiritual truths. But people who aren't spiritual in God can't receive these truths from God's Spirit. Now, it all sounds foolish to them, but they can't understand it. For only those who are spiritual or in God can understand what the Spirit means. And this all comes from 1 Corinthians 2:11 through 13.
We're souls housed in these physical bodies. So we're low beings on the spirit totem pole. We will yield ourselves to authority. It just depends on how we're yielding and which authority we're going to yield to. That's totally up to...
Correct amundo.
Thank you. So I want to mention that all the stats and stuff that we gave tonight came from the NAMI website.
National Alliance of Mental Illness. Thank you very much. Anxiety and Depression Association of America.
Yes, they all came from that. So we can skip Rock and Reject tonight.
Yeah, we went a little bit over, and
they weren't that good anyways. It had to do with kids jump roping with intestines and some
that happens.
Weird, some weird stuff.
I know, I used to do it. Anyways, so until next week, remember, when it comes to
the
supernatural, denial is simply a voluntary.
Hey, this is Heidi from Talk Supernatural.
Sentence.
You know I like to talk, so let's keep the confab hot. Follow us on Twitter at TSR Parapod. And check out our Facebook page, Talk Supernatural Podcast. We air for you, so hit us back. We'd love to hear what you think of the show, too, so email us, talksupernatural@gmail.com, and we'll give you a shout-out on air.
Check out more from Talk Supernatural Radio. Head over to tsradio.net. You can listen to TSR on iTunes, Spreaker, TuneIn, and YouTube. If you have any questions or would like to know more on spiritual afflictions, hauntings, demonic influence, check out Scott and Heidi's SWAT resource site at EPH612SWAT.com.
This world's a tortured place to be. So many things to torment me. And as I stumble down this road, it takes a toll. I need an intervention. But I can see it coming. Some things just can't be explained.
And that's all, folks.